Hello my lovelies, welcome back to another Fibro episode. As you can see, we have a visitor with us this time. This is my lovely mum, who you may remember was actually in a video last year. Remember whenever you got your goodies from America, your makeup. But we've decided that as my mum has actually been a pain sufferer for as long as I can physically and mentally remember, I decided that I was going to bring her in and just ask some questions, because for the most part of my life, I remember my mum being in pain. I remember her being exhausted, but I will be honest, and we've had this conversation before, I just thought she was lazy. And that is a really hard thing to actually admit, because it makes me realise just how people look at us who are sufferers, because they don't understand, they don't know what's going on. I mean, I was a kid and I would come home and my mum would be asleep on the sofa, and I didn't understand why. So it's only been in the last couple of years since I was diagnosed, and I really truly see what it's like to live with a chronic condition like fibromyalgia, like ME or anything like that. I actually see what was going on with my mum all those years. So I've been trying to help her actually get a diagnosis and actually get a wee bit more help from the doctors. But what I wanted to do was actually ask her some questions, so that maybe the likes of yourselves who maybe haven't got a diagnosis, or maybe in your later years, you know, maybe you've passed 40 or 50 and you've been in pain, or you've always been exhausted and you don't really know why, and you haven't had the support. Well, I wanted to bring someone to you who has spent all these years without support and is only now actually trying to get somewhere with finding out what's wrong with her. So anyway, let's start with the biggest question. How long have you actually had pain? You know, has it been a year? Has it been 5? Has it been decades? Do you actually, a better question is, do you remember a time, when you didn't have any pain?
No.
Did you have pain before we were born, or is it after?
After, I think.
Do you think that your pain maybe started after Philip was born?
Mm-hmm.
Would it have been around that time? And I'm not trying to put words into your mouth. The reason I'm asking the question is because, for example, with fibromyalgia, many of you people watching may know that things that can trigger fibromyalgia in your body to actually flare up is a traumatic event. And my younger brother was actually premature. How many weeks was he premature?
30.
He was born at 30 weeks?
30 weeks.
Okay, so that's 10 weeks premature. So you imagine being that premature, and 30 years ago nearly being that premature as well is something that was even more extreme than it is now. Don't get me wrong, I'm not belittling any babies being born premature. I'm just saying that it was harder to actually deal with the baby in a hospital. So not only was he born 10 weeks premature, he was also born with a hole in his heart and a collapsed lung. Was there anything else at that point that was wrong with him? That's the only things that I can physically remember. I don't know why I keep saying physically, because it's the only things I can remember. Okay, so obviously he was really, really sick, and I know he was christened in the hospital.
A pneumonia too.
Right, okay, so he had pneumonia, he was born with a hole in his heart, a collapsed lung, and the doctors told you that he wasn't going to make it home, so you had to have him christened in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously these are things I don't actually remember. These are just things that I know from being told, because I'm only 11 months older than my brother, so I am too young to even remember those things. My first memories are being kicked out of the pram. It's not, it's a running joke with the family. Anyway, so all those things must have really torn your life apart. Having already got 3 kids, one who's, you know, probably just toddling about, crawling about still, because I wasn't even a year. So you had 2 kids, one who was 5 and one who was 9 or 10. Green would have been 10. And then myself, who wasn't even 1 yet. Add on to that a baby who was maybe not even going to get to come home. And I do know you suffered postnatal depression.
Yes.
So I mean, to me, that could have been the start of, if it is, we don't have a diagnosis at this stage, but the doctors have suggested fibromyalgia. But that could have been the start. You know, the depression obviously can either come on its own or be part of fibromyalgia. So, I mean, I'm sure you don't remember the exact time when you started being in a lot of pain, but I'm sure it wasn't that far away from that. And obviously your body has also been through a lot of trauma because you had 4 cesareans.
Yes.
Yes. People are only supposed to have 3 at
3.
most. My mum was greedy and had 4. So 4 cesareans. Then you had a hernia operation. How many hernia operations have you had? 2? 3?
3.
3. And a hysterectomy. Is there anything else I'm missing here operation wise?
2 double hernias.
Oh, just see, you think I'm bad, guys? This is where I get it from, the greed. We just want every illness gone, don't we?
Not really.
So obviously all those things put together, I mean, you've had a lot of trauma on your body. And you've had to look after 4 kids on top of that. So, let's talk about the actual pain in your body. Now, I know your neck. I know how bad your neck is because I've just done hair removal on my mum and trying to get her to lift her head like this here. She can't do it. She's always wanting to put it back down because it hurts so much. So I know about your neck and your head, which can also be attributed to arthritis. And I know the doctors talked about arthritis, but it was in your feet, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Have they talked about it in your neck as well? Okay. So you've got that. And we also went, whenever we were at the doctors, they did the pressure points or the trigger points for fibromyalgia, and each and every point that they pressed. I mean, I sat and watched as my mum nearly went through the roof every time they touched her. And it was really hard for me to watch because I know how much pain I be in and how it affects me whenever they do that. But watching my mum and seeing that all these years, the pain that you've actually gone through, and with your knees and your feet and everything and your wrists and stuff, I mean, it's something that really I struggle to cope with now because I understand. I see what you've gone through all those years and never actually got any help, which is why, I mean, I'm trying to encourage you to get to the doctors to try and get help. And I mean, you worked part-time obviously because you had us, but you're at a stage now where you turn 60 next year and the government has been trying to get you to work because otherwise they've told you you're not going to get your pension, which is really horrible because she hasn't worked for 10 years because she left to look after my sister's children whenever they were younger, but they're at school now, they don't need looked after really. So she has had to sign on then to get the stamp so that she can get her pension, which obviously they've been trying to make her go and try and get jobs. First of all, she doesn't have the qualifications for even to stand in a room and do nothing because you need qualifications to breathe these days. Mm-hmm. But also, the jobs out there require someone who isn't in pain, somebody who is physically fit. And I mean, I see the amount of pain that you're in. I see it every time I see it. I can see it in your face. I watched you as you were sitting in the living room and the pain in your knees, you couldn't cope with it. And that's something that I want to talk about a wee bit more. I mean, what does the pain feel like in your knees and your ankles?
Horrible.
You still walk an awful lot. Now, I used to walk so much and I've had to curb a lot of the walking I do, but you haven't. How do you still physically do it?
I don't know.
It's something that I actually sat and talked about this with Thomas recently. Hats off to you because the amount of walking you actually still do.
Too much.
You do walk too much. And I mean, we're still trying to find out, there's something wrong with Mum's foot. This is something guys, my mum has lived with pain so long, she has walked with pain so much that she didn't realise she had a broken bone in her foot for approximately, they said it looked like it had been around a year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was walking everywhere for about a year with a broken foot. Mm-hmm. That's how much pain she is in everyday life that she didn't even realise that she was walking with a broken bone. Get your finger out of your mouth. So, I mean, that tells you how much pain her everyday life has if she didn't even realise that a bone was broken. And I mean, my mum's foot, her toes, it's hard to show, but her toes actually raise up. She physically can't walk. It's her right foot more than your left foot, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Where they actually curl up because the pads of her foot.
Pain on that foot.
That's your right foot.
I know.
So it's your left foot's the bad one. Right, okay. The left one is her bad one. The right one she's no pain in. But she physically can't put her toes on the ground whenever she's walking. They're always raised up because the amount of pain it causes to put her foot down. And we're trying at the moment. You have a mini mouse growing out of your head.
What?
Look in the camera. Sorry, I just noticed. You're trying at the moment to get back to see the podiatrist to see if they can help you with your feet.
I'm not decided.
Okay, so we're still in the process of that.
McCallum. Dr. McCallum says to me one day that about the physiotherapist.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I would say that physio does help to a certain degree. Hydrophysio was better because
is that thing me
in the water? Yeah, it was really, really good. So we've talked about the pain. We know, I mean, you live with pain in your neck, in your knees, in your feet.
In my hands.
I was going to say, what about the rest of your body? You know, what about the base of your back, you know, or the middle of your back, anywhere on your back? Do you have a lot of pain there?
I have, like, whenever I'm walking, sometimes it's like as if my hips are
now you wonder where I get it from. Okay.
Turn that off.
Don't worry. Look, guys, write a message below. Tell my mum how much you appreciate her coming on and actually talking to you about how much she suffers, because it's one thing to hear about me, but it's another thing to hear it from someone else. Okay, so your back and your hips.
Mm-hmm.
Is it shooting pains or is it like a burning pain?
Like a burning pain.
Right, okay. Do they feel like, I know some people talk about like a rubbing feeling with their bones and stuff, which is, I mean, as far as I know, that's a lot to do with arthritis.
Or like a clicking. Like a
clicking hips, right, okay. I get now, obviously you've felt what it feels like with my knees and stuff, and that's the arthritis. Like whenever I have, it almost feels like it's popping. Whenever I straighten and bend my knee, you can feel it and you can hear it.
Well, that's like...
Is that what it's like with your hips? Okay. And have you spoken to the doctors about that?
No.
Okay. Are you going to speak to the doctors about that?
I probably have to.
Seriously? See what I'm dealing with? Okay. So, and your hands. Now, something that I've noticed today is you're doing this here a lot. Are your hands seizing up?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's something I get. Now, it's more like if I've been idle, if I've been sitting about a lot. Sorry, that's the wind pulling the bathroom door. If I've been sitting about, my hands will start to seize up and I'll need to sit and I need to massage my hands and stuff. What's a really good thing is to sit and rub your hands like this here a lot, because it helps the circulation and it helps the blood flow in your hands. That's something that, it's like what I've said about people getting regular manicures, really helps the circulation in your hands.
Oh, right.
So anyway, so as I said, I noticed that especially whenever you were carrying the bag and I had taken the bag off you, I seen that you've been in a lot of pain with that. So, how does it feel whenever you're writing? Does it affect your arms or your wrists or anything whenever you're writing? I know for me, whenever I'm writing, I can really feel it, like it's almost like it's really pulling on the bones in my wrist. I mean, I've had that from I was in my teens, as you know. So another thing then, what about your sleep patterns? I mean, what's an average night for you? So on an average night, you go to bed around 12 o'clock. And how long would it take you to get to sleep?
You just...
And do you, like, say, are you asleep before 2 or 3? No?
No.
How long do you actually get actual sleeping at night?
About two or 3 hours.
And what time do you get up at then in the morning?
About 7.
Why do you get up at 7? You know you've no children, don't you? I mean, you've 4, but you've none that live at home.
I know that.
Are you sure? So tell me again, why do you get up at 7 o'clock in the morning? Oh, it's a good answer. And would you nap during the day? It's okay to say yes.
Yes.
Because if I was up at that time of the morning, like any days, what I do, there's days where I'll get up at like 8:30 in the morning and I'll have a nap at about lunchtime. If I don't get up at that time of the morning, I end up sleeping until lunchtime, which ruins half the day. I mean, there's today I didn't get up until after 3. I was so annoyed at myself because I had so much I needed to get doing today. Do you find that your pain affects you being able to do housework chores like vacuuming, brushing down or steaming the floors? And I know, but do you find that you can't do it as much as you would have been able to do before? What about the likes of cleaning the windows? Do you struggle to do things like that? Because I know for me, the motion of this here now, I know one of my worst parts is because I have the nerve damage in my shoulder. But doing this here to try and scrub down the windows is horrible for me. But do you find that doing your household chores is affected by the amount of pain you're in? Do you find that you're exhausted doing the simplest of things? You know, like say you get up and you have breakfast and stuff and you've done the dishes from breakfast. Do you find that you're exhausted then, or can you go and do more stuff after that?
I would do a couple of things and then
you have a nap. What about the likes of this evening? Obviously you've been dropped off here and then we dandered up to the shop and we come back and you'll be heading home to get sorted for Dad coming home for his dinner. Will you need to like do nothing basically for the rest of the night, or can you go about doing other things this evening?
Well, I'm not sure. I feel tired now.
Yeah. Do you, is there things that you know that you can do to help yourself? Like, I don't know, do you, I don't even know, I'm trying to think of things. You know, maybe spread things out or rest in the afternoon if you know you're going out, or, you know, did you do loads of stuff today? Obviously you went to the benefits office today, I know that. Did you do a lot of house twice? Oh, for goodness sake. Although it's only around the corner, isn't it? I suppose that's not so bad. But still at that, you know, you're walking there and back and then walking there and back and you've done shopping. I'm not surprised you're exhausted. At this very moment in time.
And then walk down the ways bays.
Seriously guys, I honestly don't know. At this very moment in time, can you describe to me the different pain that's in your body?
My legs very sore.
Your right leg? Where? Oh, your knees. Is your right knee the worst knee? Right. Is there pain anywhere else on you at the minute?
My neck.
Okay. What about your arms and stuff? Because obviously you were carrying stuff from the shop. Has that affected your arms in any way?
No.
Okay. Another massive question from me is, do you feel like you've had support from your doctors over the years? Because I know you have gone to the doctors quite a few times. And I know there's times that we go to the doctors and we don't tell them everything. So they don't always get the full picture. But do you feel that they've given you enough support over the years to try and figure out what's wrong with you?
Not really.
No. And another question, and this is something that I wanted to really put out there because this is something that actually really annoys me, but has the doctor helped you pain medication wise?
No.
No. What pain medication are you on right now for the pain that you're in?
Cocodamol.
And what, do you know off the top of your head what prescription that is? You know whether it's 8/500, 15 or 30?
I can't remember.
And this is prescribed by the doctors? Yeah? And that's the only thing that they've given you? You're not on any anti-inflammatories?
No, that was for my neck.
Right.
To give
So
me
in
that.
all the appointments that you've gone to, and the appointment that I went with you, that they had you going through the roof, and they saw how much pain you were in, and you went for the x-rays on your knees, they have done nothing since that.
No.
To give you any medication for that.
No.
And you've been back to the doctor since that and discussed it with them. And they've never given you any support. So you're living your life on just cocodamol. I can hardly...
It's like taking Smarties.
Yeah. It totally is. I mean, I go round there to Beth and I see what she's on. Now, I know Beth's 20 years older than you. But, gosh, she is actually 20 years older. She turns 80 next year. I was going to say as well. She turns 80 next year and you turn 60. So there is actually 20 years between you. But she's on an anti-inflammatory as well as 15/500s with her, like she's on naproxen. And she takes those twice a day as well as, that's another thing I want to ask. How many times a day do you take your painkillers? Do you take them on a regular basis?
Three times a day.
So you take 6 tablets a day? And you take those, like, do you take them morning, afternoon and night, or, yeah? Do you ever find that they've given you any help, the tablets?
Not really.
No. One thing that I will recommend, and it's something you've watched me do over the past couple of years, is just keep going back to the doctors. Just keep on at them. I've said this to so many of my viewers, and I've said it to you before. Don't just stop going. Just keep going and saying, I need support. I need help. I need more medication. I need you guys to give me help. I mean, there's this time last year, I was on morphine. I was on morphine patches. You know, up until the start of this year.
They give me, what do you call that gel? No, like...
The fibrogel?
I can't remember what you call it.
I know there's a few different gels, and Beth gets one as well, and she uses it on her neck. Now, there's one that she actually bought, which was better. I must get the name because I have tried it, and it is actually really good. Now, it doesn't completely take the pain away forever or anything, but a short-term relief, it is actually quite good. And you can get it in chemists. Now, I know whenever we first got it, it was like 2 for, was it 1 was £18 or something like that? Because it was being bought and sent from a chemist. I think it was down in Dublin. But...
See, he was going to give me Brufen, but then he said with my stomach it wouldn't be.
But there's other forms of anti-inflammatories and stuff that they should be able to give you, rather than just going, well, I can't give you this, so I'm not giving you anything. And that's where you need to learn to be stronger with the doctors and say, look, you've said that I can't have this because of this. I mean, look at my stomach issues. And I am on an anti-inflammatory. And I take my omeprazole every day because...
Well, I get Sormazole or something.
I know there's a couple of different, because Dad's lansoprazole, I'm omeprazole.
Well, that's what I get.
Oh, right, okay. But you need to just keep going back and saying, look, I need help. I can't cope like this. You know, I can't keep going on. I can't physically work because I'm in so much pain. It affects my daily life. You know, I don't sleep properly. I'm in agony all the time, and you're basically giving me a packet of Smarties every time I get a prescription because there's no benefit from the medication that I'm on. Yes, I can't really have ibuprofen because it's going to affect my stomach. But you need to give me support elsewhere. I need to find other medication. They should be sending you, if you've been diagnosed with arthritis or whatever, they should be sending you to a pain clinic at the hospital. You shouldn't have to live like this. And that's something that I want to share with everybody here as well. You don't need to live in chronic pain every day without help. You need to keep going to the doctors. And something that a doctor said to me one day is, a lot of the time it's our own doing that we don't get the support from the doctors because we don't tell them everything. You know, we go to the doctors with one thing and say, look, I've got this wrong with me, or we have this wrong with me. But we don't then say, like, for example, a couple of years ago I went to the doctors with back pain because that's all I thought was wrong with me, because the medication that I was on at the time was camouflaging the pain everywhere else. I wasn't putting together that it might have had anything to do with why I was so tired or why I was so depressed or, you know, any of that. So I was only going to the doctors and saying, there's this wrong with me, I need help. Or the time that I had the viral infection for 6 weeks. You know, that all comes down to being to do with fibromyalgia. And it's something I was only going and saying, like, this is wrong with me. I was maybe not saying the other things because I didn't think they were connected. And the problem is, because our notes on the system are so vast, there's so much, because I mean it's from we were born, the doctors don't always put everything together in that one-way appointment and go, okay, well this looks like this could all be connected. We have to be the ones that go, look, I'm in agony, I can't sleep, my stomach has problems, you know, I need help for all these things. And then the doctors can go, okay, well look, maybe this is the reason, or let's do a couple of these tests to see if any of these come back to actually being what's wrong with you. We need to be the ones to give the doctors the information. We need to be the ones to go to the doctors and say, right, this is what's wrong with me. These are my ailments. You tell me what's wrong. So my advice to everybody and to you is always write down what's wrong before you go to the doctors, because I know I did it so many times. You would go into the doctors, you would have a conversation, you would talk about one thing, you would get waylaid, talk about different things, then you would come out the door and go, oh yes, I didn't talk about that.
Should have.
So I've always, since I realised how detrimental, is that a word?
I think so.
I think I'm making words up here. How important it was to make sure that I had all the information with me at that time. I started writing everything down, because otherwise, I mean, you know, the memory problems and everything that comes with fibromyalgia, or even just having an underactive thyroid, it comes with that as well. And if I don't physically have these written down on a piece of paper, half of it's going to be gone by the time I get into that appointment. You know, so it's something like that we need to always remember. It's like, I remember that day we went to the doctors, the first time we went, to try and work out what was wrong with you and all the pain and stuff, and the doctors asked you where your pain was and you just talked about your legs. And I remember sitting there going, that's all that's in your head, that's all you're remembering. Because you don't remember to talk about the other things, because at that one moment in time, your legs were where the worst pain was, so that's where your focus is. So I know I've done a video on it before on how to get your diagnosis and what things to write down, but one of my biggest pieces of advice for going to the doctors is have a pain diary. at the end of your day, write down, whenever you're getting into bed, I always say to people, you know, write down how much pain you've been in that day, where your worst pain has been, and if there's been anything you can do to try and alleviate that pain, you know, whether it's been a hot water bottle. I mean, I go around to Bess and she has a hot water bottle against her neck, and excuse me, that helps her. Doesn't take the pain away totally, but it helps relax her muscles enough to get some relief. And it's the same as wearing heat patches and things like that, or using the gels and stuff. If those things help, write that down as well, so that you can take that to the doctor and say to them, look, these are the things that help me, these are where my biggest issues are. Or also writing down your sleep patterns as well. If you're only getting 2 to 3 hours of sleep every single night, of course you're going to have cognitive dysfunction. You're going to have issues with your memory. You're going to have issues with putting words together and trying to decipher between things that are coming out of your mouth and what you're talking about. And I know there's a lot of the time, and people on my videos, I talk about this all the time, how I tend to ramble and how things just come out all spewed, and it's due to lack of sleep for the most part. And the doctor should be there to help you with that as well, whether it means giving you a sleeping tablet so that whenever you go to bed at night, say you take it at 8 o'clock and you're in bed for 10 and you get over to sleep, you know, it's going to help your body no end. But it's all these things that you need to make sure that you're telling the doctor whenever you go, so that you actually get the support and help you need, because they're not psychic. At the end of the day, you know, yes, it would be great if we went into the doctors and they knew what was on our notes and everything, and what we already have wrong with us, what we've been with before. But it's not always going to be that way. So we need to help them. We need to encourage them to help us. So we need to give them all the facts and everything that we can possibly share with them, so that they can help us. And my advice to each and every one of you guys watching this as well is, make sure that you keep on at the doctor. Don't just go once and whenever they don't give you help, don't just let that be it. You need to keep going until you get the help and support you need. I started going to the doctors when I was 19. Wasn't it? So it was 18 or 19 whenever my pain first started. And I was 28 whenever I was finally diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I was diagnosed in my late teens with an underactive thyroid. I was told that I had muscle damage. I was also told then that if it kept going the way it was, that I would probably end up in a wheelchair by the time I was 30. But that was because they didn't know what was going on. They didn't know what it was, but it was actually because I had fibromyalgia. You know, there are all these things that we need to just keep going and going and going to the doctors to make sure we get that help and support. Don't just give up at the first hurdle. Life is all about getting over each and every hurdle that we have, and living with a chronic pain and fatigue condition is never going to be easy, but you can't let it win. You have to keep pushing to get help. And it's not always about just overloading yourself with medication. Even going to physiotherapy or trying different things, like even regular baths to just heat up your muscles and everything, to help that as well. And the likes of Radox muscle soaks and all are really, really good for that kind of thing. But one thing I also recommend is, if you haven't done so already, join a support group, talk to people about it, find out what they do, find out, you know, how long they've lived with it, what they do to help themselves. Even just talking about it, venting about it, is something that takes away part of the frustration with it. It's something that I find has really helped me over the past couple of years, is being able to talk about it to people who understand, which was why obviously I set up the support group online, so that other people like me could come together and just sit and talk about it. So anyway, I have rambled enough. Thank you for sitting and talking to me. Thank you for opening up about things. I know it can't have been easy, and I know there was a lot of emotions coming to the surface, and hats off to you for keeping them at bay. I probably would have started crying.
Well, it was very near.
I know, it would be good. Anyway, on behalf of myself and the rest of my viewers out there, thank you so much for sitting and talking to us, and I hope you'll come back again for another video. And maybe next time you come, we'll have a diagnosis and maybe some more support for you. Okay? Love you, Mummy. Everybody tell Mummy how much we love her because her so cute. See y'all next time. Mwah. Bye.